Yo, what's good YouTube? It's your boy Introspective, and I already know the answer before even asking the question, but have you ever noticed how many fucking sword characters there are in this game? I mean, I always had the sneaking suspicion that Sakurai was an actual samurai, but all of that was confirmed for me when he decided to shove 2 more sword fighters down our throats in the final wave of DLC, which means 3 out of the 7 DLC characters were sword fighters. So I paid around $15 for more swords. Now, there are some technicalities to this because Pit's weapon is Palutena's bow, and Dark Pit's weapon is the silver bow, but they do break apart into swords. So if you want to add them to this list, there are 14 sword characters in the game, 24% of the entire cast. That's almost a quarter! Let's compare that to something like, I don't know, guns. Guns are debatably even more popular of a weapon in video games. So, not including Rob's eye lasers, which were too much of a technicality for me, I counted 10 characters who have guns in their kit. That's about 17% of the cast. And no, I didn't include bow and arrows, but I guess those are like medieval guns? I don't fucking know. Are there even any rules in this video? But the difference is that you really wouldn't consider Diddy Kong or Fox to be gunfighters, but you would consider all of the sword characters to be sword fighters, with the exception of maybe Robin, because they're more like arcane mages. However, I'd consider them sword fighters, considering they have 2 fucking swords! So by now I've probably convinced you that Sakurai has a sword fetish, but if not, here's one more stat. Out of the 20 new playable fighters in Smash 4, including each of the individual Mii characters, 7 of them have fucking swords! That's over 1/3 of them! But here's where shit really hits the fan. Ganondorf has a sword, look at his down taunt. Is he a sword character? He even uses it in one of his custom special moves, Warlock Blade. And what about Greninja? I mean, he uses water swords on some of his attacks, so one could argue that he belongs on the list of sword characters. And of course there's Kirby, who steals sword abilities from other characters, so you might be saying, well, that doesn't technically make him a sword fighter, but what about his up B? So now if you just counted all the characters with a sword, it would be 17, which is 29%, and that's over a quarter of the roster. Obviously Ganondorf and Kirby aren't sword fighters, and the only reason that I didn't include Greninja in the 14 is because he's not actually holding swords, and not even all of his aerials use sword attacks. But then I realized that most of the sword fighters are clones and semi-clones of each other. You got Link and Toon Link, Marth and Lucina, Pit and Dark Pit. It's like Sakurai couldn't have enough swords in this fucking game. And then, 2 of the other sword fighters have 2 playable versions of the character. So with all these sword characters, you gotta think they have an impact in the meta. Well, they actually do. Cloud, Marth, and maybe even Lucina are considered to be top tiers, Lucina at least being the ultimate gatekeeper character. Meta Knight and CORRIN are generally considered higher tier characters, and Toon Link is considered a borderline high tier who has decent tournament results. Link is moving up the tier list after T's amazing run at Civil War. Pit and Dark Pit are solid mid-tier picks, and Shulk, Robin, Roy, and even Ike are showing that they can be hidden bosses in the meta, with some surprising tournament wins. Unfortunately, Mii Sword Fighter is banned from a lot of tournaments, but most people would say that he's pretty bottom tier. I mean, it's no surprise that there's a lot of good sword characters. Sakurai did make Meta Knight the best character in Brawl after all. So, in conclusion, there's a lot of sword shit in Smash 4. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Some of my favorite characters to play as are sword fighters, and I think they bring a lot to the table. I just can't believe that there's so many of these motherfuckers. Anyways, I wanted to do a video about them all because I know a lot of you guys main sword characters, so let me know in the comments section who your favorite sword character or least favorite is, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Deuces. Alright Sakurai, you gotta put me in the next game. Oh yeah, I would main the fuck out of me.
Hold up, 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 hold up. Yeah, big shit poppin'. Section 80. Back in this bitch, in the back of that bitch with my back against the wall and your bitch on the edge of my dick. Jump off. I call a bitch, a hoe, a woman.